and shut down plants. I've shut down my share of businesses. But really what CEOs do is try to look just a little over the horizon, or just a little bit around the corner. Can we try to keep the organization moving in a direction to anticipate what the opportunities and problems are going to be? The other thing I do as CEO of Scripps, as I always say, one of my main jobs is driving all the mercenaries out of our company. And by that I mean people who are really very indifferent to where they work. We're a very mission-based company. We still actually believe we can change the world through journalism, through free speech, through freedom of the press. So people who are very indifferent to what they do with their career are kind of an irritant to us. At Scripps, whether you're an accountant, whether you work in the insurance side of the business, or a reporter or an editor or a CEO or whatever, we really try to instill a deep sense of mission and passion. And we look for people who have that other dimension to their lives, who really care what the world is like, who care about their neighbors. So I tried my best in all employee meetings to say, look, if you're just here for your paycheck, you're just filling one of our seats. If you're just a mercenary, you know, when you have an opportunity for a different job, we'd love to fill your seat with somebody who has a sense of purpose around what we do. So what's common? I mean, if you think about my career, how do you go from a family of factory workers and farmers to a CEO and a chairman of a public company in one generation? Well, there are a couple things I've really done. One, I've always looked at my career as an adventure. I've never looked at my career as just the way I make money and then I'll climb mountains or something else on the weekend. To me, your career has got to be your big adventure, right? It's your big opportunity. It takes up so much time. Two, I've been a career-long learner, just continuing to adapt. I'm the biggest chameleon that you'll ever meet. I'm a servant leader, and we really stress that at Scripps. We really tell our managers, you've got to put the needs of others before your own. You make sacrifices first if you're a leader. Fourth, I'm a risk taker. I've always been willing to risk my career. I can feed my family. I'm not too worried about that. Risk is an asset, and you can really use risk to advance your career and build businesses, but you've got to be risk tolerant. If you're not very risk tolerant, I suspect that your business career will level off fairly quickly. Those who will embrace risk and take risks, those are the ones who will really win. And then finally, I'm the same guy all the time. I can honestly tell you, I'm the same person at home, I'm the same person in the office, I'm the same person at church, I'm the same person in a bar. Rich is just what you get. If there's anything I can really encourage you to be, I see in so many, especially our young employees, they try to have 2 or 3 different personalities. They got their home personality, they got their work personality, where they're kind of playing a part. If there's anything I can really encourage you to do, it's to be yourself. That's the path to long-term success. Be yourself, be true to your own values and what you care about. Now let me show you quickly how my career has sort of played out at Scripps and what we've done with the company. So as I tell people, I moved to the corporate side of the business in 1988, and I'm in the middle of my 3rd revolution at Scripps. If you look at where we were and when I started in 1988, Scripps was largely a newspaper company. If you look at the bottom, almost all of our cash flow, our revenue came from daily newspapers. For many of you, this is hard to imagine. The daily newspaper business was fat, dumb, and happy for about 50 years. Not only did it do good things, but made incredible amounts of money. Also, you notice our board was very diverse. And yeah, we got older white guys and medium older white guys, right, on our board. I'm happy to say today, as chair of our board is much more diverse than what you see here today. And absolutely back then, there was no internet, right? This is pre the digital revolution. This was my first revolution, and at this point, I was an observer, a young guy sitting in the corner. Now, just 10 years later, I was, I'd say, a member of the rebel camp. If you look at the bottom, we had been building cable systems. We had spun those out of the company. We're still a very heavy newspaper company with a little bit of TV, but if you look at that little bitty yellow piece, the 2% at the top, that's the beginnings of HGTV. The revolutionaries had started in the company and were building another business, preparing to transform. If you go another 10 years, you'll see that cable networks are now almost 75% of the business in just 10 years, thanks to Scripps being willing to back an entrepreneur named Ken Lowe, the company being flexible enough and giving us enough room to make a bunch of stupid mistakes and at the same time build a business. You know, we now had built billions of dollars in value, and cable networks were dominating the company. You also see a little bit of interactive media. That was the beginnings of what was to come next. These are really hard to do in corporations. There are many of you workplaces that are trying to go through transformations and change and react to businesses and opportunities. It's really hard. The one thing you're going to find, those of you who end up managers, a whole lot of people just don't like change. You know, I would sense that many of you in here, you're in here because you hope your career is an adventure. You're going to find there are a lot of people who just want to do their thing and be left alone. Good people, good, honest, working people. But it's going to be your burden to bring them along and somehow figure out, how do I transform this organization for the future? So if you go then just almost 10 years later to, I think, what I call the third revolution. Whoop. There we go. This time, I guess I'm Che Guevara. I'm the leader of the rebel camp as Scripps now moves into a full digital revolution and launching a lot of new businesses. Now you notice at the bottom, over this period of time, we then spun out HGTV and Food Network, created a great company called S&I, Scripps Networks Interactive. It's based down in Knoxville, Tennessee, where we built the cable networks, very close to Gatlinburg, where I enjoyed my honeymoon, by the way. And then we're rebuilding around television and around digital businesses. Some of these you probably know. When we spun the cable networks out in 2008 and created a separate public company, decided to rebuild EW Scripps really around news-driven kind of enterprises. What we didn't see coming at the time was a worldwide financial crisis. So we had done this big spin-out. We had created 2 new companies. Stock market collapsed. The economy had collapsed. And those of us at Scripps, like at many other companies, we saw some quarters early in 2009 when our revenues were down 30 to 40%. Now, those of you who are good with math would know that if your revenues are down 40%, that wipes out pretty much all of your profit. We had Saturday morning meetings in 2009 for months to look at our cash position. Banks who we did business with were not returning our calls. Some of them disappeared in the process. I went down into the vault and read the board books from the Depression. I thought, what's going to happen if we have to run this business on 50% of the revenue? I mean, how are we going to support these families? You know, what are we going to do? It was a really incredible time. Most of our managers took 60% pay cuts for several years. Almost all of our folks took small pay cuts, 5–10%, but our managers took very deep cuts in demonstration to the workforces that, you know, the people in the field eat first, and those of us at the top have to make the greatest sacrifices. We're still paid a lot of money, right? You know, a big cut for us is nothing like even 5 or 10% for some of our people. But it was very important that our managers took the biggest sacrifice. We got through the financial crisis just fine, but it was a period when I often tell people, I think, and many of you have kind of grown up since the financial crisis in 2008 and 9, I don't think people realize how close we were to a real financial collapse. You know, some days I think we could easily today be living in caves and carrying guns, you know, had not things sort of gotten smoothed out. I'm not sure whether the government made the right calls or wrong calls. I'm not sure whether we made the right calls. We shut down some businesses during that period, but it was an unbelievable period, especially for young managers. We had a lot of people who left the company during that period. They weren't sturdy enough. They weren't the kind of managers who could take the body blows to get through a financial crisis and lead a workforce through the things that had to be done. We're a much stronger company today, with much sturdier managers having come through the financial crisis. So today, as we sort of move into this next revolution, today Scripps is one of the largest TV companies in America. We own TV stations in a whole bunch of cities across the company. We have a great portfolio. We have just by luck, we have an unbelievable political footprint. We could do $150 million in political revenue this year. That will be those ads you'll enjoy where somebody will be complaining and yelling at somebody, right? And the closer we get to the election here in Cincinnati, Cleveland, Florida, there'll be no other ads. It'll all be the candidates just pounding and pounding and pounding. The reason they do that is, those of you who are young, many of you don't vote. Young people don't vote. For all the talk there is in America of the new America and the involved millennials, young people don't vote. That's why the candidates still motivate their base by pounding on each other on broadcast TV. If young people ever start to vote, that'll change quite a bit, but there's really not a lot of evidence of it yet today. I really hope that you all will vote. If there's any time to vote, it's this year. In addition to TV stations, as some of you know, we owned some radio stations. We ended up with in a deal. We merged in 2 other companies to Scripps. We also have the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Anybody watch the Spelling Bee? Yeah? That's my opportunity each and every year to scar some child for life by mispronouncing their name on national television. And I've almost done it many, many times. Great event. It was a sleepy little program. We went to ESPN and said, we think we could turn this into television, and the rest has been history. It's a huge success. We have an award-winning DC bureau at a time when many news industry leaders are pulling people out of Washington, D.C. We're sending more people. We're running toward the fire. We have a great investigative unit. Some of you may have seen the work we recently did around the VA hospital and the VA system across the country and how veterans are not being taken care of in many of our medical facilities. And here in Cincinnati, we use Cincinnati as sort of a test tube. I don't know if any of you follow WCPO Insider, WCPO.com. It's a subscription membership business built underneath WCPO, digital news, affinity. We have a big data machine behind it. It's where we're learning what local news consumers will need in the future. And it's going really, really well. So today we're largely television and then building the businesses that I showed you just before on top of that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about. We're deep into investing in OTT, which is over-the-top television or over-the-top media. You know, again, if you don't follow our business for many years, the distribution of media, the distribution channels were highly protected. Printed daily newspapers, broadcast television, and cable TV. With the digital revolution, more and more television and media is distributed over the top across the internet, and that's where we're building a lot of new businesses. 2 areas of our focus. One is building around a news product called Newsy, and another is around podcasting. I'm going to show you a little bit about Newsy right now.
The way we watch TV is changing fast.
Enjoy your favorite program.
In 2016, more than half of all Americans are expected to watch streaming content on their connected TV. Newsy is leading the way on this new frontier.
All right, so here's what you need to do. You need to go to your smartphone when you get a chance and look at Newsy. Send me an email and let me know how you think we're doing. We made a huge investment. If you think about, we're making a play to be like Vice. Anybody familiar with Vice? Vice Media? To be the CNN for the next generation. There are several of us competing for that spot. Newsy is one of the great competitors. Let's go on.
All right, guys, welcome back to Scarborough Country.
Midroll is the leading podcast company. We produce shows like Comedy Bang Bang, Scarborough Country, How Did This Get Made? We also have a platform called The Midroll where we connect large podcasters with advertisers.
You know where I ordered my readers from? Warby Parker. I got the best glass.
We represent about 250 of the largest podcasts in the world, including obviously the shows that we make, but also independent podcasts like the Bill Simmons podcast, WTF with Mark Maron, Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brett Gelman.
We wanted to diversify our business, and in order to do that, we saw a great opportunity in launching a premium audio subscription service, and that's called Howl. We see a lot of opportunity in continuing to grow our core business, which is that host-read ad read within podcasts. We've seen massive growth over the past few years in that business alone, and we don't see that slowing down. There are more big podcasts coming into the space and more big brands and big advertisers finding success in podcasting.
We're also a big podcasting company. We own Midroll Media. Podcast fans? Yes. How, Comedy Bang Bang, WTF with Mark Maron? Yes? Follow any of these podcasts? Go to Midroll Media and take a look at the podcasts. So quickly, in addition to the TV stations we have 2 big over-the-top plays, one around audio and podcasting. Podcasting was the real sleeper business. Not as sexy as television, not that many people focused on it. We've quickly begun to consolidate around podcasting, and today are one of the largest podcasting companies in America. So when you get a chance, check out both Midroll, go to the Midroll Network, and then also Newsy. And if we get a chance at the end, we'll spin back and show it to you. So why are we interested in this stuff? Well, there's a whole lot of people out there like you. We do a lot of research on what young people are interested in. We're real focused on the trailing millennials, and obviously the leading, we call them the leading millennials. Most of you fall into that. By the way, I'll be 60 on Monday, so I'm still right in the middle of the baby boomers, but heading in the wrong direction. Hey, and speaking of television, since I'll be 60 next week, I'm practicing a new line. Let me know what you think. Hey, shut up. I'm trying to watch Wheel of Fortune. Good? Yeah, not bad. So here's some of the things we know about you and our business as millennials. We know that 93% of you value internet access. I mean, most of you can't think of a world without internet access, right? And you're big streaming video fans. You watch most of your television streaming. We know that most of you binge watch television shows, House of Cards and all the others. The idea of watching something at 8 o'clock on Thursday night when it comes on, to most of you is just, I assume, silly and absurd. But most of the TV industry today is still built upon and operates in a scheduled world. But this transformation is moving very quickly. Most of you, or 53% of you, see time spent interacting with social networks. Social networks as just as valuable as in person. I happen to agree with you. I think Facebook and Twitter and the other social networks, those are real friendships that you build. For you, that's your town square, that's your news distribution, and that's the way the world works. But at the same time, most of you are really obsessed with digital privacy. You're worried about security, but what we find is you don't seem to do anything about it. Most of you are more than happy to trade your security for your convenience. And so as much as everybody talks about it, nobody does much about it. And then finally, the one thing we know is all of our research shows the most valuable product you own is a smartphone, the new universal platform. The device that it has had the fastest adoption of any technology in human history. Nothing has come even close to the adoption of smartphones and mobile technology as it has rolled out across the world. So as I say, here's where Scripps is today. We've gone through two big revolutions. As I said, I'm the leader of the camp in the third as we move into the digital side. If you look down and you look today, our digital revenue is just about 6%. We make most of our money on good old-fashioned regular television. I don't have any doubt if I'm here 5 years from now, this pie will look very different. In 10 years, it'll look dramatically different. We'll remake Scripps again. We're a very good organization at transitions and constantly moving ahead and not allowing people to get settled down. I always tell our board, whenever I feel like people are settled down, I do my best to create some chaos in the company. Just something to keep people unsettled so that we can keep moving along. So what do we look for at Scripps before I end? We look for creative entrepreneurs with a commitment to mission. We love entrepreneurs. We really don't like people who just sort of focus on doing one thing. At Scripps, we call it the adventure and the Scripps adventure, and we're looking for people to sort of join and be entrepreneurs and enjoy that adventure.